Okay, good morning, class. Now, what we're going to do is we to start our second unit, which is scanning of the environment. And these are the topics that we have up here. That is environmental scanning, and where we talk of the uh, external scanning. And industry analysis, and we talk of internal. The second part is where we talk of internal scanning. Okay, so what about the learning objectives that we have? Learning objectives that we have up here is to identify the external environmental variables, analyze the societal and task environment of a business, using the STEEP analysis to identify the problems that the business faces, which would help in providing suggestions, and identify the industry for the chosen firm and define the threats using Porter's five forces analysis, and also using tools like VRIO and value chain analysis for determining the firm's internal core competencies and strategize. Okay, so we start with the first part, that is external analysis, that is societal, where we talk of societal environment and task environment. Okay, so what is external environment? That's the first thing. When we talk of external environment, what is it? External environment is the business environment which is outside the firm, which is operating outside the firm, and it has to be scanning has to be done, right? Scanning is to monitor which way. What is scanning? Scanning means, where we talk of environmental scanning, it is actually, it's a way of monitoring, evaluating and disseminating information which is relevant to the development of the organization, right? With regards to strategy, developing the strategy for the organizational development, which would ultimately lead to sustainability, right? So that's what is known as environmental scanning, right? And the managers have to take into account both the societal as well as the task environment. So this is basically the looking into, when you look into the entire business environment, this is the internal environment which is there, and outside that is the external environment, where you have the societal environment and the task environment. Okay, so let's go into the first thing, which is the societal environment, right? uh, I mean, when we do, let's talk of businesses, like businesses operating in India, and how is it different from that of Bhutan? Business in China, right? Uh, Contributing, where you contribute to the economic development. Like, what about the, and whereas in Thailand, it is where we talk of generating profit. So, what are the societal forces that we see, which are for operating a business in Bhutan? You have to tell, what do you think are the societal factors that is there? So this is a very famous quote by Charles Darwin, which says, "It is not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one who has who can be more surviving is has to be fully re- responsive. Someone who's very much responsive to change, not the strongest, not the most intelligent, but who has the ability to respond to change. That's the organization or person who can survive." Okay, so scanning of the societal or macro environment. How do? We use the STEEP analysis. STEEP, S stands for socio-cultural, T for technological, E for economic, second E for ecological, P for political. So an organization has to analyze these factors to come up with, to get to know what are the challenges which is there, what are the opportunities which is there in that economy. So let's go into more details of it. When we talk of socio-cultural, it's the lifestyle changes, the career expectation, consumer activism, the rate of family formation, growth rate of population, age distribution, regional shifts, life expectancy, birth rates, pension plans, healthcare, education level, wage, Also unionization, right? With regards to technology, that's where we talk of the technology that is there. So the government spending for R&D, industry spending for R&D. So what is the level of focus on technological efforts, patent protection, new products, new developments in technology, transfer from lab to marketplace, productivity improvements through automation, internet availability, telecommunication structure, computer hacking and ability. These are some of the examples. Economic, when we talk of the GDP trends, interest rates, money supply, inflation, unemployment, wage or price controls, devaluation, revaluation, energy alternatives, energy availability and cost, disposable and discretionary income, currency markets, global financial system. With regards to ecology, that is the environmental protection laws, global warming impacts, non-governmental organization, pollution impacts, reuse, triple bottom line, and recycling. And lastly, when we talk of political legal, that's where we talk of antitrust regulations, environmental protection laws, global warming legislation, immigration laws, tax laws, special incentives, foreign trade, we talk of attitudes towards foreign companies, hiring and promotion laws, stability of government, outsourcing regulation, foreign sweatshops. Okay, right. So let's go into each of these factors more in details. When we talk of socio-cultural forces, as we discussed, right? We talk of the customs, norms, values of society, language, the demographic structure, life expectancy, social institutions, that's the lifestyle of people, beliefs, religious beliefs, our attitude towards the foreigners, human rights. For technology, as we said, and as the table also showed, so we have R&D spending, technological efforts, patent protection, degree of patent protection, new products and technology development, the level of internet and telecommunication facility, computer hacking activities. Economic factors, that is amount of credit available, level of disposable income, interest rate, income level, demand and supply, consumption pattern of people, unemployment trends in the economy, the stock market trends, the GDP, right? Ecology, when we talk of ecology, we the talk of the non-governmental groups which is up there protecting the environment, working for the protection of environment, passion for environmental causes, infrastructure to handle recycling. Otherwise, what happens? Pollution happens, right? Okay. And political legal factors that we have. Political legal factors, when we talk of political legal factors, it's the environmental protection laws, foreign trade regulations, tax laws, stability, political stability of the economy, policies regarding fiscal and monetary, the type of government, the ideology, political ideology of the nation, the degree of terrorist activity, and the immigration laws. Okay, this is an activity for you all to do. It's very interesting. Then now, when we talk, then we come to the scanning of the task environment or the microenvironment. It basically talks of the analysis of all the relevant elements. Okay, all the relevant elements in the task environment, which is how is it gets carried out in the following steps. First, write different departments write their reports, what do they feel is and when they analyze the environment, what is relevant for their department. Reports are then summarized and transmitted up the corporate hierarchy. It goes up to the top management, and then top management uses these reports in strategy formulation. Okay, so it's basically task environment. When we say, it's those elements in that business environment which is relevant to the business. And managers have to carefully analyze the external environment of the firm to develop strategies. They have to look into both macro environment as well as the micro environment. It's the ability of the managers which helps the company to adapt to any change, the changing environment. Okay, so this is the picture of when we diagram of scanning of the task environment. Okay. Next that comes up is the industry analysis, where we were talking of firm, now the entire industry, where we use Porter's five forces, right? So analyzing the industry, couple of things you need to know. What is an industry? What are the stakeholders of an industry, and which of the stakeholder is the most important? You need to think of it and make a note of this. Okay, so Porter's five forces, right? Five forces means there are five factors which influence, which affects the industry or influences the performance of an industry, right? So that is so one has to, for an healthy industry, right? When we talk of healthy industry, it should be something, some an industry which is very competitive, right? And which is also competitive, like not just with the industry as a whole, but also when we talk of individual firms, their position. So it has to be competitive enough. And so one has to understand the industry structure to come up with proper strategy, right? So this is the picture of diagrammatic explanation of Porter's five forces. We see it's the first, uh, so when the talk of the firms, the industry competitors. So you have rivalry among existing firms. You have bargaining power of the buyers, bargain, and you have the threat of new substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers, threat of new entrants, and relative power of other stakeholders, that is unions, governments, social interest groups, etc. Okay, so the first factor, the first force is threat of new entrants in the industry. Okay, that is always, that threat is always there. Today you may be the only one in that industry, but then tomorrow you will have competitors. So, and what happens, new entrants, that is new competitors, will always put a pressure on the price, cost of the, and the rate of investment in the industry, so which affects the profit. And new entrants can be discouraged. How? When in case when industry enjoys economies of scale, where there is higher customer switching cost, when they, customers switching cost is where customers, if they shift from one particular product or service to another, the cost, switching cost is quite high. The capital requirements, access to capital requirements, and government restrictions, right? So an industry must do an analysis of barriers to entry and find out, like ways how to enhance those barriers through heavy investment, so that it becomes very difficult for the competitors to come in. Okay. Second factor is the power of suppliers. Now, suppliers' power increases when there is shortage of supply, right? And so they increase their own value and higher prices. So any supplier, if the supplier is monopoly, has a monopoly market, will be more powerful, right? So, but if there are substitutes which is easily available, there are alternate suppliers, then suppliers do not have much power. Okay, so that is there. So you need to have more number of suppliers and finding alternatives. If one doesn't agree to what you say, there has to be someone else. Then you can reduce the threat of the suppliers. Okay. Third one that is coming up is power of buyers. Now, buyers can be powerful. Powerful buyers, what happens? That leads to, they would negotiate. So the, you have to reduce the prices, the demand for higher quality, and there can be increased intensity of competition amongst firms, because every firm would want to capitalize and capture those buyers, right? When do buyers have higher more power? When there are very few buyers, right? When there are very few buyers, the products are quite undifferentiated and the switching cost is low, then its buyers have an upper hand. So what has to be done? Has to be done, like firm has to look into the quality of the products. There has to be product differentiation. Okay, so we, and income level, targeting a particular group of people. So when you are more focused, and then buyers do not have much say, they do not have much choice. Okay. Four is threat of substitutes. Now, substitute is what happens up here. Substitutes means which alternative products or services, right? If there is if your product or service which is there can be substitutable, there are alternatives which is available, that would affect the industry's profitability. Why? Because the price has to be cut down, right? So what has to be done, so is to see that your product is unique. That has to be done. That has to be done. Only then can actually you can prevent your the threat of substitutes. Okay. Fifth one is rivalry among existing competitors, and that is always there. What do? They go for price discounting, price innovations, advertisement campaigns, service improvements. Right? These are the factors which intensify the competition. Now, intensity of rivalry will be high if there are too many firms in that industry. There are higher exit barriers, reasons for existence, lack of familiarity, right? That is there. So when identical products are there, high fixed cost, perishable nature of the products, so then it leads to higher price rivalry. Okay, so this is again the picture that you have of the Porter's five forces, right? So this is basically when we talk of the sports industry, Adidas and Nike. So this is again for you to uh, find out the answers for it. Okay, you have to find out the answer for all this. Okay. Next is to analyze the task and force or the industry analysis. Now, when we talk of the industry analysis, so how did industry evaluate or evolve actually? First, it came with fragmented industry. That's the first stage where no single firm enjoys a large market share. Okay, because the firm size is very small, prices drop to tackle the competition, and so firms also start adopting economies of scale. Okay, then comes up is consolidated industry. That is the second type, where a firm enjoys large market share. But what happens is, well, I mean, price does play a major concern for firm in such an industry, but consumers rely highly on information. Then the profit margin in such an industry decreases over time, and the number of firms starts decreasing, resulting in few consolidated firms coming up. Right? Okay, so categorizing the international industries, there are different types of international industries. One is multi-domestic industries, which is specific to each country or group of country. Global industries is which operate worldwide with multinational companies, which making only small adjustment for country specific circumstances. It's similar products, okay, not country specific. And regional industries is these are MNCs which primarily coordinate their activities within a region. So this is how, as I said, so you have multi-domestic, and the other end is global, right? So what is when we start categorizing the international industries, we need to know strategic group. What is strategic group? It's a set of business units or firms that carry on similar or follow similar strategies with similar resources. That's why it's strategic group. Okay, and there are different types of strategic types that we have. Different types. One is defenders who focus on improving the efficiency. Prospectors, these are companies which focus on product innovation and market opportunities. Analyzers, they focus on at least two different product market areas, two areas, and then see which is better. Reactors, but they do not have a specific uh, strategy, structure, or cultural relationship. They do not have a consistent. Just react to situations and accordingly go with it. Okay. What is hyper competition? Right? This is where the firms that have shorter life cycle, product life cycle, shorter design cycles, new technology, and many new entrants, making the market a very turbulent situation. It's a very uh, let's turbulent is disturbed situation. That's hyper competition, right? So it's shorter prior life cycle, design cycles is shorter. It's not new technologies coming on, too many new technologies, and there are many entrants there. So it becomes very turbulent, disturbing. So example up here is Microsoft. You can look into that, read the case, and then this is the question. These are the questions for you. Okay. Next comes up is competitive intelligence. What is competitive intelligence? So it's a formal program of gathering information on a company's competitors. Okay. It's also called business intelligence. Competitive intelligence is also called business intelligence, which is a very, it's becoming quite important these days in strategic management. And if research has shown that there is a strong relationship between corporate performance and competitive intelligence activities. Better competitive intelligence activities lead to better performance of the organization. Okay. And there is a difference between strategic alliance and competitor watching. Strategic intelligence and competitor watching, because competitive intelligence, when we talk competitor watching, is as it has little relevance to the concerns and task of top management. Most businesses declines have little to do with direct competitors, which are these businesses which is actually falling, they decline in their performance. They have very little to do with direct competitors. Okay. Competitors, actually what happens, they actually expose the main problem, but they are not, very rarely they are the strategic threat by itself. So how do you monitor competitive intelligence? These are the ways. Why do your competitors exist, and do they exist to make profits or to make just support another unit? Where do they add customer value? Regards to quality, price, credit terms, better service. Which of your customers are the competitors most interested? Okay. Are they picking up your best customers, picking the ones you don't want, or going after all of your customers? What is their cost base and liquidity? How much cash do they have? How do they get the supplies? And are they less exposed with their suppliers than your firm? Are their suppliers better than yours? That you have to find out. Okay. And then comes up the other questions which is there is, what do they intend to do in future? Do they have a strategic plan to target your market segments? How committed are they to growth? Are there any succession issues? How will their activity affect your strategies? Should you adjust your plans and operations? How much better than your competitor do you need to be in order to attract your customers? Okay. Do either of you have a competitive advantage in the marketplace? Will the new competitors or new ways of doing things appear over the next few years? Who is a potential new entrant for you? And if you were a customer, would you choose your product as compared to those offered by your competitors? What are the factors which irritates your current customers? What competitors solve these particular which competitors are actually solving these customer complaints? What can, so you have to think of this. So that was external analysis. Now we come to internal analysis or internal scanning. Now, when we talk of internal scanning, what is internal scanning? So it's basically a process of identifying the internal factors that that is quite critical, right? Where we talk of strengths and weaknesses of an organization, and accordingly developing the organization's resource and competencies. It's also called organizational analysis. So external analysis by itself is not complete. It has to be coordinating with internal analysis to come up with the right kind of strategy. Okay, so first thing that comes up is resources, right, which could be tangible assets like which is plants, equipments, finances. It could be your human resources, skills, intangible assets also, where we talk of patents, copyrights of technology, culture, reputation. Then the next factor here is capabilities. These are the processes and routines that manage the interaction amongst the resources, which would help in converting inputs to outputs. Competency. So, competency is where we talk of integrational, cross functional integration and coordination of capabilities. Core competency is a collection of competency that crosses divisional boundaries. Okay, it's spread throughout the organization, something that the organization can do extremely well. It's a main. Okay, so we need to do organizational analysis. We need to use a resource based approach, that is the VRIO framework. VRIO, V stands for value, R for rareness, I for imitability, O for organization. Value means, does your resource provide customer value and competitive advantage? Rareness is, no, is there any other competitors who's possessing these resources, or is it only you? Imitate, like, how can it be replicated? Is it costly for others to imitate? An organization is your firm organized to has the capacity to exploit this resource? Okay, now it actually, you need to evaluate the importance of your resources, resources, capabilities, and competencies, to actually come out with the fact that what are the internal strategic factors that you have, which is giving you an upper edge. How can that be done? Is by comparing the company's past performance, the company's key competitors, and the industry as a whole. So you have to compare and then see the using these, look into these resources and see how you have been performing, who are the key competitors, how have they been performing with regards to these resources, capabilities, competencies, and how has the industry been performing. So, first thing that you need to do is to identify and classify resources in terms of strengths and weaknesses, and then combine the firm's strengths into specific capabilities and core competencies. And after that has to where you have to appraise the profit potential. Are there any distinct competencies? Then you need to select the best strategy that would be able to exploit the firm's capabilities and competencies in a better way as compared to the external opportunities. Then you need to identify the resource gaps and invest in upgrading the weaknesses. Okay, so determining the sustainability of an advantage. How? First is durability. That's the rate at which the firm's resources, capabilities, or competencies, core competencies, depreciate or become obsolete. Like the durability, that's the rate. One has to determine the sustainability of an advantage depends on durability. It depends on imitability, that is the rate at which the firm's resources, capabilities, or core competencies can be duplicated by others. Okay. Explicit versus tacit knowledge. So that is also there. That's a third thing. Knowledge which can be easily communicated or articulated, that is explicit knowledge. And communication which is not, that can knowledge that cannot be easily communicated because it's inside, deeply rooted inside an employee. It's a employee's experience or in a corporation's culture. That is tacit knowledge. Okay, and tacit knowledge is more valuable, and which leads to sustainable competitive advantage. Okay, so determining the sustainability of an advantage, like high, which is hard to omit it, and level, this is a level of resource sustainability, and low, which is easy to omit it. High, when we say that, we talk of short cycle resource, that is strongly shielded, patents, brand name. Example is where we talk of Gillette sensor razor. Okay. Then in between is standard cycle resources, where we're talking of standardized mass production, economies of scale, complicated process. Example is Chrysler minivan. And past cycle, which is easily duplicated, idea driven Sony, Walkman. Okay. Business models, next thing. So, what is a business model? It's a company's method for making money in the current business environment. Okay, which comprises of the key structural and operational characteristics of the firm, how it can earn revenue, make a profit. There are five elements in a business model: who it serves, what it provides, how to make money, how it differentiates and sustains competitive advantage, and how it provides its products or services. Okay. Business models, some of the examples. One is customer solution, right? Which not just sell the products but also provide expertise in the service. Pyramid, profit pyramid model, which where production of differentiated line of products happens and covers all the market niche. Multi-component system or installed base model, selling of base products at the cost or even at the loss and sell complementary at higher price. Advertising model, providing basic product free in order to make money on advertising. Switchboard model, where firm acts as an intermediary to connect multiple sellers to multiple buyers. Time model, time model is where the product, research and development and speed are the keys to success in the time model. It's being the first to market. Here we talk on the companies which are the first to market with a new innovation that allows them to earn higher margins. That, for instance, Sony. Then we come up with efficiency model. Efficiency model is where the company waits until a product becomes standardized and then enters the market with low price, low margin product that appeals to mass crowd. Blockbuster model, which is focusing on high investment in few products with high potential payoffs, right? And which is actually protected by patents. Profit multiplier margin, which is basically trying to make profit on their own, not which may or may not make profit on their own, but through synergy can actually concentrate on making profitable products. Okay. Next, we have value chain analysis. What is value chain? A value chain, when we talk, it's a linkage of a set of linked set of value creating activities, starting with the raw materials coming from suppliers, then moving on to a series of added activities like from raw materials to production, then marketing the product, and ending with distributing the final goods or the services to the hands of the customer. So starting from raw materials, right, and ending with giving the final goods to the customers in the hands of the customer. That entire process is value chain. So this is how it goes. The picture value chain analysis of a manufacturing business, right? Raw materials and ending up to the retailer. Now, let's look into the industry value chain analysis. Value chain segments, when we talk, it includes something called upstream and downstream, right? There's a concept of which is called center of gravity. That is, this is a part of the chain which is the most important to the company and the point where its core competencies lies. So it could be vertical integration or horizontal integration can also happen. Now, that's basically where we talk of vertical integration. Let's go back. Right? Now, when we talk of corporate value chain analysis, we have two things, that is primary activities and support activities. Primary activities are the main factors, that is inbound logistics, that is raw materials coming up. Then the operations. Operations is where we talk of the process of, and outbound logistics is the final output. So inbound is raw materials, operations is the process of converting raw materials into final inputs into outputs. So that is outbound. And to do this entire process, you need to have some supportive activities. You need help. So one is procurement, procurement of raw materials. That is there. That is related. Procurement is related with inbound logistics. With operations, you have technological development. You need to have to operate for that entire process. There has to be proper technology. There has to be proper human resource happening. So these two are related with operations. Procurement is related with inbound logistics. Firm structure also matters, because how it'll be given to the customers matters. Structure, inform infrastructure, how to send it. Okay, so this is the picture. Do you see this? These are the supportive activities that we have, and these are the where we talk of the primary activities. Okay, so for a corporate value chain analysis, first thing that you need to do is to examine each product line's value chain in terms of the activities involved in producing the product or service. Then you need to actually examine the linkages between each product's line's value chain, and then examine the potential synergies of the coordination amongst the value chain of different product lines or business units. First, look into take up each product line and see, right, where the activities that is involved, examine the linkages that is there, and how each of these product lines are interrelated. Is there is a coordination? Okay, so then comes up is you're scanning the functional resources and capabilities, right? So what are the things that has to be covered when we talk of this? Organizational structure, strategic and marketing issues, and strategic financial issues. Okay, so the basic, or let's look into it. First comes at the organizational structure, where we have simple, starting with simple, then functional, divisional, then SBUs, and conglomerate. Simple structure, see, this is very simple. This is the functional, where it's divided into different departments. Divisions is different units that we have within the organization. SBUs are, it's totally operating by itself, right? Okay, corporate culture. Next comes up corporate culture, the company way. What is corporate culture? It's a collection of beliefs, expectations, values that is learned and shared by our corporations members, and which is transmitted from one generation of employees to another. It's percolates down, right? And it basically talks of the values of the founders and mission of the firm, right? It also gives the company a sense of identity. This is who we are, this is what we do, this is what we stand for. Okay, and when we talk of corporate culture, it fulfills some important functions. One, it conveys a sense of identity for employees. It helps in generating employee commitment to do something greater than themselves. It adds stability to the organization. It also serves as a frame for reference for employees to use to make sense of organizational activities. Okay, next comes up is the marketing issues. Now, where you need to identify your customers and the market segments with different products that would help the producer in finding out the niche. What, who are your customers and what are the and market segments. So, trying to find out what is and where is the niche. Then start applying combination of tools like 4P models, product life cycle, and brand promotion to actually convince your customers and enhance or increase your customer base. Strategic financial, next is when we talk of strategic financial issues. So what are the finances that some of the finances that businesses need to take care? First is to find out what are the best sources of finance, how to use them, and control of funds, right? Next, we talk of financial leverage, that is externally versus internal, short term, long term funds. Next comes up is to prepare capital budget and to rank them in the order of years to pay back the investment, rate of return, or time to break even point. Strategic R&D issues. So R&D issues where we talk of R&D intensity, technology transfer, technology competence, right? So if you have by you have to and if you have on your business, you have to look into or give importance to this. And so what has to be done is, as a strategist, you have to choose the from all the alternative technologies which is best for your organization, developing methods to to embody or to imbibe the new technology in new products and processes, and then deploying resources so that the new technology can be successfully implemented, right? And so equally important is also to know when to dispose certain technology and start new development, discard the existing technology and start with something new. Okay. Next, we have is strategic operational issues. So the primary task of operations up here, that is manufacturing or service. Like what happened, the manager in charge of operations has to develop and operate a system which will produce the required number of products or services. Develop a system where keeping in mind certain things: quality, cost, time. Given cost, given time, certain quality. Okay, and firms can enjoy operating leverage, which is the impact of a specific change in sales volume or net operating income. So it can be done with the use of experience curve, right? Through experience, you can start estimating the production cost, how to of a product never before made with the present techniques, or current products produced with the help of new techniques. Through experience, you can do it. Next is strategic HRM issues. So, knowledge about part time work, job sharing, flexi time, extended leave, contract work, and also the proper use of teams, right? That all comes in HRM, human resource. First, that is autonomous or self-managed. It's a group of people working together without a supervisor to they're working by themselves, no supervisor to plan, coordinate, evaluate their work. Cross-functional and work teams where it's various disciplines are involved in a project from the beginning, different departments, right? Concurrent engineering. Specialists are working side by side and comparing notes constantly to design some cost effective products with features that customers want. And virtual teams, where we have people who are working in different parts of the country or different parts of the world, and they are just dispersed, but they're using telecommunication or other forms of technology to work together, like virtually. Next is strategic information system technology issues, where designing and managing the flow of information within an organization has to be done to in such a way that would improve the productivity and decision making. So, information technology system or technology contributions, how do they contribute to performance? This is how it goes. Uh, so, automation of back office processes happens, automation of individual work task happens, enhancement of key business functions happens, development of a competitive advantage also takes place, right? So, supply chain management. Now, when we talk of supply chain management, so it's basically the network for sourcing raw materials, manufacturing products, or creating value, storing and distributing goods, and delivering them to customers and consumers. So, it's very much related with the value chain analysis. Like to have a proper value chain, the supply chain of the organization has to be very strong, which would it's a network which would help in providing these raw materials, having the right kind of system for processing it and delivering it to the consumers. Only then can that product has a right kind of value. Okay. Next topic that we have is strategic audit. Okay, what's the purpose of strategic audit? It's actually to help the managers or provide them with tools, information, and commitment to evaluate the degree of advantage and focus provided by their current strategies. What's the degree of advantage that they have? What is the main focus? That is with their current strategies. So, an audit actually produces the data which is needed to determine whether the change in strategy is needed and exactly what changes, not just whether it is needed or not, but also what changes should be made. So it's when we talk of strategic audit, it basically involves assessing the actual direction of the business and comparing that to the direction that is required. Actual direction, what the direction that is required to succeed in an environment which is very much changing. And for that, what is needed is internal assessment as well as the external assessment has to be done parallelly, and they make up the major elements of the strategic audit. Okay, so what are the elements of strategic audit that we have? One is current situation, the current performance, strategic position, then where we talk of mission, vision. Then we have strategic managers who takes care of the corporate governance. Then we have external environment analysis summary, that is the nature of the physical environment, societal task, and summary of the external factors, like which are the most important. Okay, then as we have internal environment. Under internal environment, we have corporate structure, that how structured is the organization at present? To what extent is it structured? To what extent is it structured properly? Then corporate culture, is it well defined? Corporate resources, that is where we talk of the different department. What are they? Are they fully equipped? Are they really having the right kind of structure, right resource? Do you have the right kind of marketing risk department? Marketing, everything is there. And then summary of the internal factors and to see which ones are the core competencies, right? Then the next comes up is analysis of the strategic factors, where a situation analysis has to be done and review of missions and objectives has to be done, followed by coming up then comes up with the strategic alternatives and recommended strategies. So what are the different types of strategies which are available, right? And then choose which strategy to actually develop, okay, for which would help in effective implementation. Once that is done, then comes on the implementation process. So what kinds of programs feasible? Then comes up is evaluation and control. Like after implementation, one has to see the results. So is it done in timely basis? Are there adequate controls in place? Okay. So this is a synthesis of internal factors that we see. So where we see these are the strengths and the weightage given, rating is given, okay, and the weaknesses. Okay. So this is all that, and this is the reference that we have. So this is all that we have here for you. Okay. Right. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, what we can do is, like, if you don't have any questions, any further questions, then and that's all that we have. If you have any questions, you let me